Hey guys, welcome to the Hot Tub Club where inspiration bubbles up. I'm your host, Samara Renee, and today we have a very special guest and someone that I owe a lot of props to, especially with my fitness journey. It's been a long time trying to get him onto the show, but I am so happy to introduce and welcome Zohan James, and welcome to the Hot Tub Club.
Thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to having this interview.
You've been training me for more than a year,
Yes.
right? Are we at a year and a half or did we get to 2 years? I forgot.
I think we're actually at two.
Are you serious?
Yes. I
My
think because I
God.
remember I went to two Christmas parties, so that's how I kept track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, you've been with us for 2 years. Han's been training me for 2 years and it's been a real experience. He has a completely different fitness philosophy versus our old trainer. Old trainer was great. We did a lot of heavy weights and focusing on that. But the thing that I like about Zahan is that he switches things up and after a while keeps your body guessing. I wanted to have him come on to the podcast because within the past 6 months that I started to show my progress, did some dietary changes too. I think the progress was there. It was just hiding underneath my bloat. So people actually were noticing. And what did you do? And I said, well, I was consistent. I worked out. First, I wanted the audience to get to know about your background and where you came from and what inspired you to become a fitness trainer.
Wonderful. I'm glad to share my journey with the world and to people that I come into contact with. I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland 8 years ago. I don't know if you guys know much about the Baltimore, but it's not the best environment for males to grow up, specifically black males, and the statistics there for black males past the age of 25 is pretty low. At about the age of 21, I left Baltimore and moved to Seattle, Washington. And I stayed there for what, maybe, let's see, 21 to about 34. Yes, about 34, 33, something like that. Uh, that was right around the time when COVID hit. Uh, I took it as my chance to leave. I really wanted to go into an environment where it was more sunny and more conducive to my spirit and my sunny disposition. I thought California was the perfect spot for me. So I packed up all my stuff and I got in my car with like $500 and I came down here and I'm just going to let the wind take me wherever it needs to take me.
That's
And it
so
did.
crazy.
I wound
Number
up
one,
here.
that you lasted as long as you did up in Washington with the lack of sun.
I think about that, and I actually owe a lot of that to my martial arts background. What I did not mention in the beginning was my background. When I was maybe 14, I was in high school, and this kid named Corey. I won't ever forget him. He beat me up so bad, literally.
Let's put him on blast. Do you know his last name?
Oh yeah, I'm totally putting this kid on blast.
Okay, put that kid on blast right now.
Yeah, right now. I wish I knew his last name so I could tell you guys where to find this guy. But anyway, this kid named Corey, he beat me up so bad. He literally put me in the hospital. I had missed school for about 2 months. When I had recovered from, the damage that he had done to me, I was supposed to return to school, but I didn't. I decided to take the remainder of the school year off, and my parents were like, well, you don't feel safe, so we'll just not worry about the remainder of the school year. That summer, when school was out, this is pretty cool. I was in downtown Baltimore, and it was 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I had missed the last train home, and I was so terrified. I didn't want what had happened to me with Corey to repeat itself.
Right.
I was walking around downtown Baltimore, and I was literally terrified. I saw this older Asian guy. He was doing these crazy movements I had never seen. And the window. So I bang, 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 bang on his window. I'm begging, please, can you please help me? I'm so terrified. I missed the last train home. I called my dad, but he's not answering, and I don't know what else to do. He was like, yes, 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 come in. Please come in. I was like, thank you so much. He was like, I help you, but you must pay me back. He had meant by that.
Right.
It was basically, you return to my school and come train and learn from me. That's what he had meant by pay. I thought he meant literally.
It reminds me of like Karate Kid, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Like
Totally,
it just reminds me of the whole movie right now. I love it.
yeah, totally like Karate Kid. He literally paid for me a cab to go all the way back home and back to my parents' house. He said, you promised to pay me back. You have to come back here. One day I was like, you know what? That guy was right. I really want to keep my promise. So I went down there during the evening. It was probably about like 6 o'clock, 6:30. That was when he was actually teaching a full class. I looked inside the window and I saw all the people doing the movements that I saw him rehearsing before. I was so intimidated, I literally walked right past them. And I was like, screw that, I'm not going in there. And then I went home. And then I thought to myself, no, 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 I need to go back. And then I went down there again. And that same feeling of inferiority, intimidation came back around. I walked right past and I didn't go again. The third time I went down there, he saw me outside. He was like, hey, you, I remember you. I paid for you to go home. I help you. You come back. You come now. And he dragged me into his studio and he made me take the class with him. And then the rest was history after that. Yeah, he started teaching me Tung Sudo. And I started building confidence in myself. I started learning how to defend myself. Maybe about 1 year into working with him, I took all of the knowledge that I had learned from Master Ree, that was his name, and I went back to Corey and I used it all against him and I totally kicked his ass. I had redeemed myself from that. Almost like won my soul back. I had reclaimed myself as a person, so.
That can totally mess up with your self-esteem. Number one, just being a teenager, that's hard
Absolutely.
enough as it is. And then on
Yeah,
top of that, you had a bully who beat you up. I'm sure that totally killed your self-esteem.
it sure did, but
Yeah.
I truly owe Master Reed my life. Meeting him literally changed the trajectory of my life. It's made me the man that I am today and allowed me to persevere through a lot of the adversities that I have faced in my life, living in Seattle and facing kidney disease and now kidney failure. I think that if I didn't acquire those skills and that fortitude and that perseverance through martial arts, I would not be here today.
Yeah. We're going to circle back with what's going on with your kidneys. But first, we'll talk a little bit more about your fitness journey, how you became the
Absolutely.
trainer. That's an amazing story that he took. Number one, he paid for you to go home.
Mhm.
Because honestly, if you came knocking on my business at 11 o'clock at night, I'd be like, I'm not
Yeah,
opening that
for sure.
door. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So
I
that was
totally get
cool.
that. I mean, I was lucky, and I'm forever grateful to him for that.
Love that. When did you start getting into, did you teach karate at first before you became a trainer?
I actually did.
Okay.
So one of the requirements before you get your first degree black belt is to instruct those in lower rank than you.
Okay.
Once you pretty much become Bodon, which is a black red belt, you're assigned as a mentor, at least at mastery school. You're assigned as a mentor to help build other up and coming students. That is supposed to help prepare you to become or achieve your first degree black belt as an instructor. Once you get your first on, you're technically considered an instructor.
All right. Oh,
Once I achieved my first degree black belt, I became an instructor, and teaching became a regular part of my life, and which kind of transitioned me into fitness.
growing up, was there a particular job or that you had in mind that you dreamed about being like a cop or something? I don't know. I mean, it's fine if you
May
don't, because some people didn't even think up far. I didn't even think past like 18 about my
Sure.
life.
Yeah, I when I was younger, I was kind of always the weird artistic kid. I was constantly picked on. I actually wasn't into sports at all. I
Hmm.
was into art and musicals and drawings and movies and really artistic.
Right.
I thought I was going to wind up working in film or writing or something of those sorts. I guess that just wasn't in the cards for me because I did do some of those avenues when I was younger. But I realized that as I continued on my journey through life that really wasn't the best fit for me. I realized that I had a different purpose. I think everyone has their purpose in life. I'm really in tune with like my inner self. My inner self was talking to me, and I was like, that's truly not like your purpose in life. You are destined for another path. I think that the more you try to fight that path, the harder your life will be, or
Right.
the more resistance you'll face. Because the more I lean into my spiritual journey, the more light that shines out of me, the more I am able to reach others, and the better I actually feel about myself. Because if I feel good about myself, I'm able to spread that joy and love to others.
Right. Right. You talked about like purpose. Like,
Yes.
when did you realize your purpose? Was it after like you left Baltimore, were out on your own, kind of just exploring life as you moved up to the West Coast, or how did finding your purpose develop?
Okay. So my journey into fitness. So when I was about 24, I was still teaching when I moved to Seattle. I was an instructor at a martial arts school in Seattle. And one of the older students at the time had suggested, I think you would make a great private trainer. And your martial arts is very good. You have a good way of explaining things and why certain movements and patterns work the way that they do. You're probably not making lots of money right now with this job, which I wasn't.
Right.
But I think that fitness would be right up your alley. That actually sounds like a good plan because I don't think I really want to teach martial arts at this pay for too long.
Mhm.
The pay really wasn't that great, but I've been doing it. But I thought about what the student had said to me at the time, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. So I had sat down for the NSCA, which is the National Strength and Conditioning Association exam. I looked over the exam, and I was like, well, I really need to understand concept of exercise science. I brought a book actually, and I studied the book maybe for about 3 months. I studied the book and I started to really grasp the concepts of what they were trying to um, relay and what they really wanted you to understand. And I sat down for the exam and I passed it on the first try, which was awesome,
Nice.
90%.
Nice.
So once I passed the exam, I was like, you know what? I felt confident in myself. I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. So I applied for my first fitness job, and that was at Gold's Gym.
Hmm.
And I was there for about 2 years. But during that time, I had met this one lady, and I will not ever forget. Her name was Deanne. And she had a disorder called osteogenesis imperfecta, which basically means brittle bone disease.
Mm.
And
Okay. Yeah.
she hired me, and she was like, are you able to design like an exercise program? Because I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, but I have this disorder that makes it harder for me to um exercise the traditional way. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a real challenge for
Yeah.
me.
How do you
I really
create
gotta
a
come.
plan like for
Yeah, I
somebody
really
with
gotta.
that's crazy.
Yeah, so I research and deliver the results and what my worth as a trainer. And I researched and researched about her disorder and the limitations and the contraindications that she had to deal with. And we came up with a solid fitness program for her. By the end of us working together, we worked together for maybe like 3 months. She had lost 10 pounds and dropped about like 5 pounds of pure body fat. And she
Nice.
had felt better than ever. And she was so thankful and grateful to me. And it was in that moment that I knew that this was my purpose and my calling, that a big part of my life was to help others go from a state in their life where they're like struggling with their body, whatever it may be, like they might have had an injury or like they might be battling chronic disease or
Hmm.
whatever, and show them that a healthier life and body is possible. You don't have to be confined, or what's the word that I'm looking for? You don't have to be limited by your disease. It's not a end all death sentence for you. You
Hmm.
can lead a healthy life. You don't have to be born with perfect genetics or perfect body to enjoy the benefits of an active and healthy lifestyle and a fitness life. Because fitness is a journey. It's not a dead end point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will bounce in here and just talk about where I started. So I believe when I started with you, I might have been at like 198 or something. I was close to 200.
Okay.
And I had been working out with Steve, our trainer, before that. And, like I was getting stronger and my body was changing, but I just wasn't losing the fat. Like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it had to do with my diet. And also, I think what I've noticed as I've been getting older and moving into my 40s that my body requiring something different than strength
Sure.
training, and just kind of the different things that we've done, like we've done our tabatas and our
Yeah.
strength training, and we did TRX, and then we did a stretch, like a stretch month or whatnot that we worked on. And you're constantly changing things up, so my body's like, what the hell,
Yeah.
doesn't know
Yeah.
what's going on. Once we started working with you, I'm always the one who's like, I need harder stuff, because Steve always gave me harder stuff. Leo's our other trainer. He's so chill and so nice that I'm always like,
Sure.
can you give me something harder?
Yeah.
Can you tell me to do a plank while they work on their exercises or something?
Absolutely.
And he
Yeah. Yeah.
goes,
Yeah. For sure.
yeah, he's like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, go ahead and do that. And I'm like, okay, okay. But yeah, so like when you came in to our world at our organization, what were you thinking when you first walked in and you saw our group of people and we're all at different levels with our fitness journey? What were your thoughts?
I honestly, when I first walked into the group, I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna honestly, when I first walked in there, I was like, I'm just gonna just take them by surprise. I know what I'm doing. And I'm gonna totally change their whole routine up. And they're not gonna see anything that's coming. They're probably gonna be very suspect of my unorthodox ways at first, but they're gonna be thanking me later.
Mm,
And sure enough, that's what happened.
exactly. And everybody
Sure
was
enough.
so used to being trained a certain way. When you brought something in, people were just kind of like, what is this? This is
Absolutely.
totally different. But you're like, no, just wait, just
Yeah. Trust
watch,
the process.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely trust the process. Because I know people were suspect to me when I first came there. They was
Mm,
like, they not too sure about this guy. Like,
yeah.
he's not some
Yeah.
big muscle head or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
yeah, he's not some big muscle
Y-
head,
Yeah, and
He's
you're not
kinda
like really focusing on like the heavy weights, and
yeah.
and which is fine. Like lifting heavy's fine, but not everybody can do that.
Absolutely.
Not everybody should do that. There should be some variety in their fitness plan based off of really what they want, the results that they want to get out.
Yeah, that's specific to the individual. Fitness, a well rounded fitness program is just not strength. There's different
Mm-mm.
elements of fitness that should be incorporated into a really good and solid fitness routine. You need balance, you need flexibility, you need to be agile, and strength is wonderful, but it doesn't challenge those elements of a well-rounded fitness program, because as you get older, of course strength becomes important, but balance becomes more important as you get older.
Yeah, you can be strong as you want, but if you're falling on your butt and you break your
Yeah,
hip,
absolutely. Flexibility, range of motion. If you can't bring your arm over your head, what good use is lifting a dumbbell that's like 50 or 60 pounds up?
exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
a good and well-rounded fitness program has several elements that kind of all work in synchronization to improve your overall performance and ability to move throughout the world and throughout life.
Yeah, I
So
like the whole body approach and
absolutely.
functionality. I think that's something that a lot of trainers they tend to forget because everyone's so focused on results and
Yes.
losing weight that they forget that there's other benefits to working out, not just building muscle and losing fat, but it's the overall everyday functions that you have
Absolutely.
that you need for, balance, strength, you need flexibility to be able to
Mhm.
do things. So, and also so you don't get hurt while you're
Yeah.
lifting. So you need to be able to train those different body parts in different ways and make them stronger, versus strength training can only hit so many muscles. It really doesn't give you like a complete package. It does a lot, but it doesn't
Absolutely.
give you the flexibility that you need and mobility that you need. Exercises can do for your body.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing too is that fitness, I think that the traditional view of exercise is sad and boring because it's kind of like they kind of compartmentalize. It's just like you go into the gym, you do your weights, you do your cardio, and then you go home. Where in reality, you should be incorporating all of those elements kind of in one go unless you have very specific fitness goals that you're trying to achieve with you for specifically aesthetics or sports conditioning movement or just trying to like rehab your body or just
Mm-hmm.
move better throughout your daily life,
For real.
and
Yeah.
just constantly doing classic meathead exercises, as I call them.
Mhm.
They they're they doing you a disservice, or rather, they're not servicing you to the full capacity of what they could be.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me to, my last podcast,
Mhm.
probably two podcasts ago. My best friend was on and we were talking about dating and stuff. And she's a busy mom. She works at home, but she's got two kids and her husband are constantly on a go. And so her goal is to start getting back into working out as this busy mom. And she's been out of the game for at least 5 years. Where do I start? How do I start getting myself back into the whole fitness game slowly? Do you have any tips or things that people should think about when they're restarting or doing a reboot on their fitness journey?
Absolutely. I always tell people a brisk walk is one of the best things for you. Just simple
Mhm.
walking. And as you become more efficient at walking, where it starts to feel easier, go for a brisk walk with like 2, 5, or 3 pound weights. And
Like we
that'll
did today.
totally, yeah, just exactly like we did today. And
Yeah.
that'll totally, throw your body for a loop.
You know what we did one time that was surprising? So we had Chris and Keith were still there
Yeah.
and we were doing the weights and we had light dumbbells, but we were doing it on an incline. I think we were doing it on an incline. Or maybe we weren't. Maybe I think it was a slight incline, but then you had us doing different movements. So we would hold it at our 90 degrees and then over our head and
Yes,
then the
yes,
T
yes.
ones.
Yeah.
So we were doing that and we weren't even walking like super fast, but I was dying. I was like,
Yeah.
why is this making me so tired?
Exactly. Exactly. You don't have to do all these crazy YouTube, fitness, Instagram, pretentious things. It's
Mhm.
not necessary. Actually, to be honest with you, you need to find something that you truly like. If you like mopping, turn it into fitness. See how
Mm.
fast you can mop the damn floor in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Put your back into it, engage those muscles, get into that stance, that squat position, use those legs, simple things. You got to find things that you enjoy, not what the world says is going to get you results.
Exactly.
What's going to get you results is what you enjoy doing, because you're more likely to continue doing it. It's sustainable for you,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And you're right
Fitness
about.
is supposed to be fun. Fun is fitness, and fitness is fun.
Yeah. No, that's so true that you're not going to be consistent with something that you don't love. If you hate going to the gym and doing the same workouts, you're not going to want to keep doing it. You're going to find an excuse to not come, you know?
Absolutely. And that's one of the issues I have with modern day meathead exercises, because a lot of people, they don't care for these type of routines because they're redundant, they get boring, and it doesn't really kind of challenge you as much as you would think. And you get to a point where you're just kind of doing the same routine over and over.
Yeah.
And your body is designed to move and not become like this mechanical robotic machine that kind of does
Yeah.
these same repetitive movements all the time.
This brings me back about like all the different training that I've done. I've
Mhm.
done P90X. That
Mhm.
worked for a while, but then I
Yeah.
got bored of it and then I stopped using it. I had a trainer who was a fitness athlete and a fitness model. And
Yeah.
so I went on this really hardcore like diet, 2 a day workouts, and I got results,
Yeah.
but it wasn't sustainable.
And yeah, it's
And
not.
yeah, I really worked hard at it, but the thing I was going through a really hard time during that period when I was working with her. And she said, "You've been doing so well. Don't you care about yourself?" And the scary thing was this I didn't care about myself back then. She's like, "Don't you want to continue? Are you really gonna let this like hold you down?" And I said, "I really don't care right now about my like this. This is not my priority." And so looking back at that, I was like, that's really messed up that I didn't care enough about myself to take care of my health. Like that's screwed up. But that's where I was in my life. And I wasn't able to sustain that. And I ended up gaining weight back. And then I had to go through the whole process again. And it's
Yeah.
just been like up and down. So I've done I've done everything. And then I just started going back and I just started getting inspired by like YouTubers. I know you're not into like the whole YouTubers and stuff, but just watching other people go through their fitness journey was super inspiring to me. And I was like, okay, well, if they can start at this weight and they were heavier than me, then I should try to find something that works for me. And my thing was, I was bored. I didn't want to be at the gym doing the same thing, having guys like gawking at you at the gym. That's the worst. And I like to be outside. So then I started hiking, and that was life changing because it's like you get outside, you get your sun, and you get to see something cool. Well, I've been through pretty much every single fitness plan you can imagine. I've been strength training since like I graduated high school, but my weight has come up and down. And it's just trying to find, I think what finally got into my head was actually recently was that like I'm not a type of person that can just work out and not like eat healthy. Like some people can just like work out for a little bit and they can eat whatever they want and it's fine. No, like my body will hold on to everything that is like overconsumption and turn that into fat. So I have to be like super careful, really mindful, but also I want to balance that having fun. So really kind of retraining my way to eat. And I always tell people about the whole thing and how that is to me really, I'm not perfect. I need to get back on board with that. But that really made eating really simple because it was like fruits, veggies, meat. And I didn't have to like worry about anything else. And it's like no sugar, no dairy. Pretty simple, and learning how to eat within those parameters and know that I really felt like I was missing a lot. But what I realized is that I could actually eat more and have more, like more of a full plate. So it looked like I'm eating a lot more. It was much healthier and I was able to I wasn't hungry as much.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to eat as much because I was getting filled up with fiber and things like that.
Right.
So that's kind of like where I was kind of I've been through everything. So that's why I was asking, like, what are some of the easy things? And that's one of the things that I always tell people. They're like, well, how did you start? And I said, honestly, I started with walking, with getting back into the gym. And then number two, with going to the gym at my job. The gym is literally next to my office. So I intentionally told my boss who works at another location that I was not going to move to that location because they don't have a gym. And I said, until we get a gym out here, I need to stay there. So I made it a priority to stay by the gym where the trainers were. And then I made a commitment to block out that time every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday was my time.
Right.
And that was super important is that you have to, number one, feel like you're worthy of having that time.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Ashlyn. Ashlyn's our director of fitness, and she had a baby about a year ago and she was like, oh, I'm finally going to go back in the gym. And she said, I finally gave myself permission to take 30 minutes and not feel guilty about it. And I said, that's huge
Yeah.
that you're just going to take that time for yourself. Hopefully she'll extend that to an hour when she's ready, but she's at least taking that 30 minutes for herself to take care of her body, but also that's going to help her be a happier mom and, a happier wife.
Absolutely. And which goes back to, when you asked me about what tips do I have, you pretty much nailed them all. So, start with like a basic walk. Don't overly analyze your food. Start small. Like if you find yourself getting too many calories in your diet, take a little journal. Take an audit of what you're doing throughout the day and then just kind of just look it over and see like maybe there might be some like holes that you weren't really aware of
Mhm.
that you were creating for yourself. And one of the things I always tell people if they're looking to reduce that caloric intake to lose weight is replace all of the drinks that you drink with just plain old water. That saves you like 300 calories a day right there off the bat.
I think it's amazing when you really pay attention to what you're eating. One
Yeah.
of the things that I found was number one with the sugary drinks and stuff. You
Yeah.
like next thing you know, you go get a drink from Starbucks. It's like 130 calories, and then you grab a pastry that's probably like 500 calories or something like
Absolutely.
that, and that's like half your daily intake right there,
Yep.
and you don't even realize it. And then you go and you
And
have
you're
like
still hungry.
Yeah, and then you feel like, okay, I need to have lunch, and then you have lunch on top of that. Who knows what you're having for lunch?
For sure.
I used to mindlessly just try to go grab a burger
Mhm.
and mindlessly just go drive through Wendy's because I was hungry and
Yeah.
get my chicken sandwich with extra mayo and fries, which I
Yeah.
love, right? Like that. I didn't even think that it was like high caloric and that was bad for me. Like I didn't even think about it. It was just crazy. Now that I look back, hi Roger. Now that I look back at that, I was like, that's insane that I'd even like consider that
Yeah.
that was not a healthy choice for myself.
Yeah, it's crazy, when you kind of take a critical evaluation of like what it is that you're eating throughout the day, you actually can surprise yourself.
Mhm.
And discover a lot about yourself. And when you do that, you can actually find ways to mitigate habits and you can start your process to changing those habits and leading a healthier lifestyle and achieving the goals that you want for yourself.
And also, like, you're right about the writing it down, the food journal. That really helped me to really kind of focus in. And what I added to that was I wrote down what I was eating per day, but then I started tracking my emotions.
Yeah.
And I'm a very emotional eating type of
Sure.
person. So January, when we had like the fires up in LA and my family lost their homes, I did
Yeah.
not deal with that very well. I did with that well with that on the outside,
Yeah.
but actually I was not doing well. And I went on like a eating binge. It was not good. And I had all this other crap that was going on at that time too. It's so for me, like writing it down and being like, okay, I was feeling upset about this. Like, even like the little interactions of grazing, I
Mhm.
graze a lot and not really realizing how much you're grazing. And then at the end of the day, you look at your desk and you see like the wrappers, or see like the like fruit that you've been eating or
Oh,
like the
yeah.
nuts that you've been eating.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I agree, 100%. It's really easy to fall into those death traps, but it's also easy to continue on a healthier lifestyle once you take the steps towards climbing out of those death traps because you
Yes.
starting to instill those habits in yourself. And then also too, once you start to instill those habits, when you eat bad, I guess,
Mhm.
sometimes you'll realize how much crap it makes you feel.
Yeah, and you're right about that also because what I realized when I was doing like the whole 30, number one, I lost a bunch of weight. I did it for myself because I knew that there's certain things I shouldn't be eating. I knew dairy was one of them. Um, I've been tested for celiacs. I don't have that, but I was like, okay, maybe I need to try that. Maybe if I drop dairy, and then I was trying to figure out, okay, how else am I holding on to weight? My number one thing that I absolutely love in life is I love sugar. I love
I'm a guilty
Yeah,
there.
I love desserts, I love pastries, I mean, I love all of that stuff, I love breakfast. That's my favorite time of day.
I'm secretly a fat bastard.
I'm a
Secretly.
I'm
Yeah.
a fat kid that loves
Yeah.
cake. Yeah,
Secretly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I love to eat sugar, and so when I pull that sugar out of my diet, that's another thing I had to realize was that my body loves sugar and it loves to inflame my body, and that's how I get puffy and I look all swollen. That's an
Yeah.
issue. And I just have to realize like I can't have sugary sweets all the time. And I'm always worried about being diabetic and I'm always right on the edge of being pre-diabetic.
Sure.
And I have to keep my weight down to at a healthy weight because my body does not like being heavy. It did not do well when I was 200 pounds. I had knee pain. You know, when you run and your
Yeah.
body was just jiggly and it was
Yeah.
just gross. Like I just
Yeah.
felt bad. And I remember when I finally was able to do some of our exercises. One of the exercises I was scared about doing with you was actually the box jumps.
Oh yeah, 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 for
I
sure.
was really scared about that because of my freaking I have like this very small half millisecond delay on my left side of my leg.
Yeah.
And if I don't get it up in the right position, I will fall on my face, which I've done
Yeah.
twice. Is I would jump up there and my left leg will catch something and I fall. Remember that time I tripped over the
Important.
a really important aspect of this whole conversation I wanted to have with you is with your kidneys and, you being a trainer and being very health conscious and having this thing just pop up in your life that you didn't even realize was going on with your body. How did you discover that you had an issue with your kidneys, and walk me through all of that.
I did not know this, but I actually was born with a kidney disease or abnormal kidney function, but I have recently found this out. And it's called polycystic kidney disease.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really affect you until your kidney function gets to a certain point. Some people, it doesn't affect them at all. They, I guess they just kind of go through life. They just have this kidney disease and they just kind of just go through life and they're live a normal life. But I think for me, when I had got ground zero COVID, I think it was so hard on my body that it went for like the weakest link in me, which
Mm-hmm.
was my kidneys.
Got it.
Fast forward, what, 3 years, I guess, or 4 years, I finally had reached kidney failure, and I require dialysis now, and I'm looking and hoping to get a kidney transplant in the near future. But going back to what you had asked me, I think that being physically active and wanting to live a fitness and healthy lifestyle has prolonged, or rather staved off, the kidneys effects thus far.
So
Um,
wait, did that just come up randomly when you had a test at the doctors when they like did blood tests? Like how did that all come to your attention? That this whole
it
kidney
did.
thing.
Um, when I had my car accident about a year ago, I had abnormal levels of creatinine in my blood. And creatinine is a waste product that your body makes when you exercise and do resistance training. But my creatinine levels were abnormally high. But with healthy functioning kidneys, your body removes the creatinine. But they noticed that mines were continuously starting to like rise, and a good creatinine level would be anywhere from like 0.1, I guess, to maybe like 1.5. If you're more musculature and physically active, it can go as high as like maybe like 1.6, 1.7, something like
Mhm.
that. But anything like above like a 2, I would say maybe like a 2.5 is really an alarm to like, hey, something's wrong with your kidney function, because your body is supposed to be clearing out this waste product, creatinine, but it's not. And also, they measure your kidney function with this test called a GFR. And what that stands for is your glomerular filtration rate. And your glomerular filtration rate is like the little nephrons in your kidneys that filter out the waste. And a healthy working pair of kidneys is 100%. Or, well, 90%, I think they say. And mine was at like 5.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was walking around with really low kidney function for quite some time, and
And you had no idea. You were just
had
walking
no
around,
idea.
living your life,
Living my
felt
life.
fine.
Yeah, until, that blood test showed up and they were like, hey, you need to go on dialysis like ASAP or you're going to die. Um, but I had refused to just lay down and take it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had done research, and I knew that there was some things that I could do on my end to reduce um the really negative effects of kidney disease, because most people, in all honesty, at a 5% kidney, they can't even walk, they can't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
they're so
Mm-hmm.
swollen. But I didn't have any of those, and I credit that all to a physically active lifestyle. So even if you're dealing with chronic disease or something, a physically active lifestyle will get you farther or do serve you better than if you were not physically active at all. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate for fitness. And it goes back to what we had talked about earlier about finding my purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
hope that I can be a beacon of light to those that are fighting chronic illness and disease, and let them know, just because you are fighting and facing something like that, that you don't have to be a victim of it. You can still live a active lifestyle, obviously with modifications and things you might have to do differently, but You don't have to just lie down and take it.
Mhm. You're the
Wow.
second person in our world,
Mm.
in my world, that had something like that happen where or something really serious came up on a blood test that
Yeah.
they didn't realize.
Mm.
Our other friend has leukemia, and so
Yeah.
that popped up and she had no idea, was walking around, had no idea she had this issue going on. And so, I always stress, because maybe I'm just super anal about it, but I'm
Mhm.
always like, get your labs done. I do my labs an abnormal amount of times a year. I do
Mhm.
mine's every quarter because I'm checking to make sure my blood sugar is not getting too crazy.
Sure.
But, at least get your annual blood test. I would say at the very least, maybe twice a year, to go in and
Yeah.
see your doctor. And just, I mean, I happen to have good insurance. I've been really fortunate to have really good insurance at all of my jobs I've had. And
Mhm.
so, I can just go get my blood drawn and it's all paid for. It's not a big deal. But I just think it's so important, because that's another way I was talking about, ways that you can gauge your fitness progress. And I
Mhm.
did a lot of tracking with my blood sugar levels, and that was something with body fat and blood sugar levels.
Yeah.
My weight wasn't shifting, but I could see that my body fat was slowly starting to trickle down.
Absolutely.
And I just think there was one time it kept trickling down, and all of a sudden I just had this big, I think when I dropped sugar, I think that's when my body fat just took this huge dip. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I need to get back on that seriously. But yeah, so I think that was one of the things is, of course, like the way that you feel.
Yeah.
That's one way. I do the whole testing my blood quarterly to make sure that I'm doing. We have our quarterly check ins at work. So that holds us accountable with either maintaining our weight. And so that's been another thing that has kept me in check, is knowing that I have to go and stand on a scale and report to somebody,
Yeah.
and know that if I put on weight, they're going to be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Sure.
don't make us feel bad, but man, you were doing so good. But like,
Yep.
you put on weight, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was going on? So, I mean, every time that freaking quarterly weigh in, everyone's like in the gym trying to like run. You just see everybody with their big
Yeah.
bottles of
The
water.
weekend
Everybody's
warriors.
like
Yeah.
salads for lunch.
Yeah.
And like having that incentive of like, we get paid if we hit our goals. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, yeah, it's an extra $150, but that's
Right.
$150 I wouldn't have had if I didn't stay in shape. So
And for taking care of yourself.
yeah, and for taking
Yeah.
care of yourself. It actually helps us get cheaper insurance, so our premiums go lower if we do biometric screening. So we get a whole workup every year at our job for blood testing. You're supposed to do your measurements and circumference and all that stuff. They always forget to do that, but they at least get your labs in. What are some other things that you would recommend as another gauge other than weight, that you can kind of gauge your progress for your fitness?
Absolutely. Always, I always ask people, like my clients, I always ask them, you know, if you're not monitoring your weight, which I don't recommend people constantly check their weight, I just always say, how do your clothes fit now? Do
Mhm.
they fit better? Do they fit better in certain areas? They look more pleasing to you in certain areas. Do they do you feel more free or more flow, or how do you feel throughout the day? Do you have more energy? Um, is your endurance levels improving? Do you feel like you have more endurance, more energy to run around, or are you doing more things throughout the day? Those are good ways to measure your progress. You don't have to only measure your progress by the weight that's on the scale.
Mhm.
And in actuality, that's not the best way to measure your progress. Weight is just a number. You really want to look at the whole picture of your body composition, because you can actually have a perfect weight but still be have a high percentage of body fat.
Right.
Term skinny fat. I think that's actually worse than being overweight and having high body fat. And because at least when you're overweight, you have some lean body mass that actually is sustaining that weight that you have now. You have some muscle on you. But when you're just skinny and your body fat is really, really high, you don't really have any muscle to burn the
Mhm.
furnace that burns the furnace that actually burn fat. Like you can't lift your body up, and a good gust of wind come, you're gone. Like, I don't
But
really know.
also, I think it looks better. Like muscle.
It
I
does.
Me and my sister were always sending each other videos of older people who are in their
Yeah.
70s. They work out and they lift
Yeah.
weights and do yoga and stuff like that. We're like, this is our goals. So when we get
Yeah.
older, that we want to be able to be like smoking hot grannies.
I'm in my late 30s now, and I'm gonna be 40 in my 40s pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to getting older, but I think I'm aging pretty well. Like, I'm loving my gray that's coming in. I feel like I have more energy going into my later years than I did when I was 20, as when I wasn't as physically strong as I was now.
Yeah, that was
So,
something I also was gauging because, there came a point where I was sitting at my desk and I just started getting all this energy. And I was like, where is this energy before? And
yeah.
before all of that, I was just run down and just
Yeah.
dragging my slothy, flabby body around. I didn't feel good. I wasn't happy. I was just kind of miserable. And I had like knee pain and back pain. And but one thing I was gauging, I didn't feel in my body, especially my core. My core
Yeah.
wasn't strong anymore. And there just came a point where I think I had so much fat that I literally could not tighten my ab
Yeah.
muscles. It was really weird. But, anyways, so realizing that, oh, wow, I have a little bit more energy. Like, this is great.
Mhm.
Like, I felt like that was a turning point where I'm like, okay, something in me is changing,
Yeah.
that I feel better. And I'm trying to gauge it, like, how did I feel when I was in like my 30s and 20s? And I think I'm getting close to that 20s, like
Yeah.
having energy, but I know I feel really, really good. I don't feel as bad as I did like waking up every morning where I was like, oh my back, oh my God,
Yeah.
you know?
That's wonderful. Yeah, because I be telling people, stuff starts to go downhill pretty fast at 25 if you don't get some sort of fitness regimen
Yeah.
going.
I'm
You
telling
know?
you, I try not to buy into the whole hormones changing, but it's a
Right.
thing. And, everybody keeps talking to me about perimenopause. And I said, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I do not want to hear about it. Talk
Yeah.
to me in 10 years. Okay. Like we could talk about that later. But I said, right now, my goal is just to be as healthy as possible. I can always talk about preserving myself
Yeah.
and, just trying to like be healthy as possible and making that a lifestyle. This is part of my life. This is a priority for me. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm working out. Every Thursday, I'm doing yoga. That's it. That's on my schedule. I don't move that. I don't adjust that unless I absolutely have to. But that is my commitment to myself, that I'm going to show up and work out. And even if you don't show up, I'm still in the gym.
It goes back to what you had asked me about what are some tips. One of the tips, you just pretty much pointed it out, and that's consistency.
Yep. Yep.
Consistency will get you further down the road than just your casual weekend warrior workout or P90X session. It's about consistency. And by you having a regular set time that you commit to yourself, that you're going to do such and such on these days, that maintains that consistency, and it contributes to your overall journey towards a more healthier and fitness lifestyle. So,
I even think like mental health wise, when the whole world is falling apart around you, especially the whole world's always falling apart, I feel like in my world,
absolutely.
especially in January with the whole
Mhm.
political change. I was feeling really bad in January as my family, their town freaking burned down. I was like, what the
Mhm.
hell? All these people are suffering. You had the political change and all the crazy crap that was going on at the time. I literally was just like, the only stability are things that I had to look forward to is going to work out at the end of the day. Honestly, that's the reason why I go to work, is to go to the gym.
That's
That's the only
awesome.
reason why I go. That's my
Hey,
motivation, is get to the end of the day so you can go to the gym.
I 100% support that. 100% support that. I think that's wonderful. And
Yeah.
you should be looking forward to that, because fitness is fun. Like I said before, fun is fitness. It should not be this chore where you
hmm
like drudging and not looking forward to doing it. It's
Yeah. Well,
to
what's
me,
so funny about that is
what's,
working out for an hour and everybody's like, oh, I don't have an hour in my day. If you think about it, it's an hour.
yeah.
It's
So
an
what is that?
hour.
1/24th? I'm
And
not.
like versus like if you look on your cell phone and you see how many hours you've been on your phone throughout the
Mhm,
day, and it can easily be like 9 or 10 hours, one of those
literally.
hours you could have been working out.
Absolutely. Or even just like for 10 freaking minutes. Just start small. Like my mom, one of her is baby steps, son. And I've never understood what she had meant by that. But now
Yeah.
I get it. Literally, baby steps. Baby steps could be like 5 minutes of exercise. That's your baby step. Another day goes by 6 minutes. Baby steps, son. Baby steps. Son. So I totally support that.
Yeah, and then also with the consistency, I always tell people, they're like, well, what do you do? And I said, honestly, I spent a year and a half, 2 years at the same weight, and I wasn't seeing a whole lot of progress. I was getting really frustrated. I remember I was talking to Ashlyn about it, and I was just like, I just feel like I'm doing what I can. I think I was not being 100% honest with myself because I could have been eating way cleaner. I
Yeah.
thought I was eating cleaner, but I wasn't eating as clean as I should have been.
Mhm.
I think finally waking up and saying, okay, well, you got to be 100% in. The one thing I always tell people is you can't outwork a bad diet. And
100% agree.
and that's something that I've been trying to do for a long time. It's like, oh, well, I worked out, but now I can go have a little treat here and there.
Yeah.
And, I'm an emotional eater. If I get sugar into my system, then it makes me crave other stuff.
For
And
sure.
so I just have to really work on staying away on that. And it's hard because I love sweets. I love
Mhm.
little treats, but just being consistent. And I've seen that time and time again, every time that I get really focused and I work out,
Yeah.
is people will all of a sudden keep working out. I remember I put on some weight and then my best friend got married and I was going to be in her wedding. And I was like, I just want to get down to a point where I don't look like the worst person in this dress. That was like my main goal. And I worked out, I think like 5 or 6 days a week. I
Yeah.
did my strength training. And, you go to the gym, you see the same people every day. And one of the guys, I thought he was kind of hot for a little bit,
Mhm.
but he
Yeah.
finally came up to me and he was just like, hey, I just want to tell you, like, good job. I've noticed your body is completely changed from, I've seen you come in from like, months ago and just keep it up. And I was like, oh wow, like it's people are starting to see this. I may not see it,
Yeah.
but other people are starting to see it. And that really helps to validate everything that you're doing is of course number one, how you feel, that should be priority. But
Sure.
when you stay consistent and other people start seeing the progress, like
Yeah.
that's
It's
also
a really
super
good
helpful.
self-esteem booster.
Mhm.
A good
Mhm.
confidence booster. And it's interesting too because it's hard for you to see because you're on the inside looking out. Because you see yourself every day, but people that don't, I guess, see you every day, they're more likely to see the changes
Right.
as opposed to you. That when people give you those affirmations, I guess, or props, it's really rewarding because it makes you keep going, even though from your point of view you might not see it. It's noticeable to other people.
I have a few more questions for you and then we'll wrap it up. Are
Um
are there any misconceptions about starting a fitness plan that you frequently come across, and how can you debunk these myths?
ah Misconceptions. Yes. That you need to be in shape already to get in shape. I know it's weird, huh? That's just
Yeah,
like
it's so weird, but it's
yeah,
true.
like
It's so
that's
true.
like I've heard that like a million times, and every time I hear this, I just kind of just like shake my head at them.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm just like, that literally makes no sense. You're getting in shape to get in shape.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
Go work out. I don't know how to use
Yeah, that
equipment or something
definitely
like
that.
that. Well, you got to go learn. So you got to
Yeah,
go learn how to do it. And if you don't do it, you'll never
absolutely.
learn.
And another one that misconception that I've come across throughout my fitness career is drastic caloric deficits. And I mean
Oh,
drastic. Like
yeah.
going into a fitness program or fitness regimen, not knowing clearly how to tailor your nutrition towards your goal. For example, someone say, I want to lose weight, and they just cut 1,000 calories right off of the top of the bed
Hmm.
on their diet. That's a big fitness misconception. You don't need some huge caloric deficit in order to have success. You need a small deficit, like about 10%. Anything greater than that, your body's going to send off a bunch of alarms that's going to work against you and not
Uh-huh.
in your favor. And your body's going to wind up actually storing more and make you more fatter than what you already started
Mhm.
at.
Or you're gonna binge eat because you're so damn hungry.
Exactly. So those are like
Hit me
my
up at
big
like two
tips.
in the morning, going and slicing up some ham and making a
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yeah. You had that whole tub of Ben and Jerry's is cleaned out.
Shoot.
So those are the two big ones that I come across. I'm not in shape to start a fitness program, and I need to cut a drastic amount of calories out of my diet to lose weight.
For women who are new to strength training or exercise in general, what specific benefits can they expect? And what exercises do you recommend that they incorporate into their routine?
I think for women, what they can expect is as they continue on the journey, strength training, they'll notice increased muscle tone, that their clothes will start to fit better. They will notice an increase in energy. Things will become a lot easier. Like your everyday tasks will become a lot easier.
Yeah, like picking up your 20-pound purse.
You'll have more energy to do things throughout the day, and you won't have to rely on your partner to like open jars, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was
Really.
just thinking of like picking up my 20-pound purse and not struggling
There
anymore,
you
or
go.
like
Yeah.
pulling my
You won't be
muscle every time I
struggling
pick it
picking
up.
up, like your. This is specifically for women. You can deal with your monthly cycle a lot better.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
you'll
is
be able
true.
to deal with your monthly cycle a lot better. It won't be so. For some people, it's very jarring on their body.
Yeah.
Very hard. But
It's
with
like you're
a
still going to
regular
be tired,
yeah.
but you're like, at least for me personally,
Mm.
I know that my cramps are so much less.
Yeah.
I mean, I went like several cycles once I got going that I didn't
Yeah.
have any cramps. It was like a breeze.
Yeah.
And changing my nutrition, because I think a lot of it has to do like with bloating and gas and stuff, but it's stuff that you eat that
Sure.
creates a lot of pain. But once I took out all those inflammatory foods, it was so much better.
Absolutely. From a physiological aspect, you'll feel better. Things will be a lot more easier to deal with. As far as strength exercises for women, I actually am a big advocate for women to work on the strength of their upper body.
Mhm.
Women don't have the hormones that'll turn them into a Hulk unless they take steroids.
That's true
Yeah,
with
that's
strength training.
definitely a big misconception with women. They think that, oh, not every woman, but a lot of women tend to think that if they start lifting weights, they're going to turn into like a man, or I don't know, start
Yeah.
looking like the Hulk.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
I'm
just
gonna
not possible.
Yeah, and I meant to say this earlier with me and my sister looking at the old people who are strength training, but building muscle is the fountain of youth.
Absolutely.
That is it. People just you can't get it in a jar, you got to go pick up a weight. That's the
Absolutely,
fountain of youth.
100%. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Exercise is the fountain of youth. Resistance training, it keeps the body supple, strong. It keeps the synovial fluid flowing to the joints. Yeah, lymphatic, it moves. It circulates fluids throughout the body. It detoxifies. I mean, there's just so many benefits to engaging in a regular exercise regimen, specifically strength training as opposed to not. And women, especially, should engage in resistance training for their upper body. And also, women that plan to actually, it's been proven that women that plan to get pregnant, they actually have an easier time delivering the birth of the baby. As opposed to women that did not exercise, and they're actually able to recover a lot faster than had they not been strength training previously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good tips to know. I love that.
Awesome.
If you could choose any fictional character or superhero
Okay.
to be your workout buddy, who would it be and why?
Oh, this is awesome. Okay. Okay. So I had this is a hard one for me because there's two people that I genuinely really respect. So as far as superheroes, it would be Blade.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I think Blade is just an epic character in so many ways. Like he's a swordsman and I'm a swordsman, so Blade as far as fictional.
Okay.
The other person, if you guys don't know who she is, her name is Cynthia Rothrock.
Hmm.
She is a big action star from the early 80s, I think. If you haven't seen her, you should totally check out her stuff. I would love to work out with her. That would be,
Love it.
yeah, those two would be.
I love it. Okay, my final one.
Yes.
is, can you share a memorable success story of someone that you trained who started at a beginner level and achieved remarkable results with your guidance?
Yes. There was a client. I wish I had the picture with me right now, but there was a client named Dmitry Goldenov. I will not ever forget him. This heavy set Russian guy. He was really overweight. And this is when I was working at Gold's Gym. Me and him, we met up, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been this size for so long." He's strong, heavy, and Russian accent.
Mhm.
But I don't know how to, get fit, Zohan. So can you help me? And
Love
I
it.
was like, dude, let's do it. I was like, I'm going to challenge you. And so we did, we met 3 times a week for about 4 months. And Gold's Gym has a yearly contest. And I was like, Dimitri, I think that this should be a good challenge for you. He's like, but I've never exercised before. Totally new for me. And I'm like, well, this is why I'm here. I'm here to help you. So we got on this solid fitness regimen. We built him up for a couple of months. And then we went to this program I call Fry That Fat. Whatever you
Yes.
call it,
And
that frying that
yeah,
fat.
yeah, we're
And
we're
we
in
put him
that
on.
right now.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now. And
Yeah,
I
fry
put him
my
on that.
fat.
Yes. I put him on that Fry That Fat program. And in 2 months, he went from 18% body fat down to 10. And he looked so sharp.
Oh my God, he was
At the
cut.
end, he entered the Gold's Gym contest, and he won first place.
Wow.
Yes,
That's
we won gold.
amazing.
Yes, we won gold. So he is my claim to fame.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's amazing. Well, Zahan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If
Thank you for
anybody would
having
like
me.
to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you?
The best way to get in contact with me is via email. My email is my first and last name, zahanjames@gmail.com. I'm currently building a website for my fitness business called The Fitness Project. It's under construction. I can send you the link with the information about where it's at, but it's under construction. You could just kind of like leave like your name and information to get in contact with me. Drop me an email, or if you're curious about where experiences have been with me, you're more than happy to ask her. And she has my contact information, and just reach out and I'll cut you a great introductory offer, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
You will not be disappointed, you guys. So check him out, drop him an email, and then hopefully once you get your website up, we can start sharing it with the people. And
Awesome.
especially if you are in the San Diego area, because we do not have you doing online training yet,
Not yet, but
but
soon to
but
be.
we're gonna get there.
We're going to get there.
We're gonna get there. Okay, yeah, we're starting something big. We're starting
Yeah,
something big.
start big. Baby
And then
steps.
the last thing I did want to share with you, with
Yes.
you being such a huge part of my life, I started creating kind of my
Yeah.
team that was like team me to getting
Yeah.
me healthy. And so I had my doctor, a therapist, my spiritual life, I had my trainers and all that sort of thing. And so getting back in this journey, I really was inspired to want to help other people, especially with sharing my fitness stuff. I don't know if you've been on my YouTube channel or whatnot, but I record all of our workouts. So,
Oh
and then
wow.
I share them on YouTube Shorts, and I get a lot of comments and a lot of views and things like that. And people are like, "Oh, that's so cool." Our yoga teacher Harumi, actually, we were showing her one of the exercises that we did with you, and she goes, "Oh, that's cool. I'm going to steal that." But I didn't share with you yet. But I'm actually studying right now to get my certification to be a trainer.
Oh my gosh, that is
So
wonderful.
I've been
That's
keeping
wonderful.
that quiet because I wanted to wait until this episode to tell you that you have really
Oh,
inspired me.
that is
So
awesome. I feel very proud, and I support you 100%. I think you would do exceptionally well. I feel like a proud professional hearing that.
well, you helped to inspire me, and I was like, I think this would be really great, and I've learned so much from you through the 2 years that we've been together. I've been
That's
seeing really
awesome.
great results. I'm going to continue down that path. And I'm hoping that by sharing my fitness journey for these past several years, it helps somebody out there. So I
Oh, and
think having
it definitely
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, thank you so much, Sahan and Theodore and Roger, for being on the podcast. And for everyone, thank you for hanging in there with us and being part of the podcast. Remember that you're worthy of all great things in life: love, joy,
Definitely.
happiness, and good health. And I look forward to seeing you all in our next podcast.
Bye, guys.